here with Champ, who is very, very, very afraid of things. He's so afraid that I haven't even tried to pet him yet. In fact, this is by far the closest I have ever been to him. And I expected him to move away, but he's actually being pretty brave. I got a sniff. That's a big honor. Now, when I have a dog this fearful, I'm not going to take their leash off. Since I can't touch him very easily, I don't want to panic him by having to try and grab his collar to bring him back inside or anything like that. So what I want to do is put a harness on him. Now, I can't touch him very easily because he gets scared. I have a harness here that is too big for him. I already know it's going to be too big for him. He needs the next size down. Unfortunately, I seem to have run out of the next size down. So what I've done is tie a knot in it. It takes up a whole lot of space and will hopefully make it small enough for him until I go get a slightly bigger one. I'm using an Easy Walk brand harness because I can totally unclip it, so I don't have to worry about putting it over his head or his feet stepping through or anything like that. If I were to use this for walking, I would clip it so that the leash clips in front. That's how they're meant to be used. But I'm not using it for walking. I'm actually just using it for safety. I want him to have a leash on so that at any point I can step on the end of the leash and quietly pick it up and have control to bring him inside or to take him outside or away from something I don't want him to have or anything like that without having to scold him at all, in the case of having something I don't want. Because scolding him, of course, would just make him more afraid. If I put a leash on him attached to his collar, there is always the concern that it'll wrap around something. Now, if I were always going to be here with him when he had his leash attached to his collar, I wouldn't worry about that. I would figure I would hear him thrash and I would come rescue him. Lily, you're in the way. But I will probably be leaving his leash on him at times when I'm not here. Specifically, when I have to go to work and I can't take him with me one day. So I'm going to be leaving him home, and my associate is going to be checking in and getting him out and working with him. But of course, he doesn't know that person as well as he knows me. So even though that person has met him a couple of times now, he's going to be a little afraid. So I want a leash on him ahead of time so he doesn't have to let that person get close and put a leash on him. That means he needs to be wearing it when I leave. He'll be alone for about an hour and a half, and at the end of the day, he'll be alone again for about an hour and a half. I'm going to attach it to a harness so that if it wraps around something, it won't hurt him. He'll be able, most likely he'll chew his way out, and I'll have a broken leash or a broken harness. I would rather that than a broken dog. So, I've been sitting here now for quite a little while, just hanging out with Champ, letting him get used to the fact that I'm sitting here and I'm moving this thing around. I'm going to offer my hand. I always offer the palm of my hand first, because if a dog is willing to sniff it, first of all, it tells me that they're not super scared. If a dog is not willing to sniff it, I am not going to take the next step, because if I do, that dog is so scared that I will probably elicit a fear-aggressive response. Fear aggression is really dangerous, and you're highly likely to get bit, because when dogs are fear-aggressive, they don't show a bunch of aggressive signs. They don't growl first, for instance. They pull away, and they pull away, and they pull away, and they attack. It's never like a big, I want to kill you attack. It's like a one snap and run again. But that snap can definitely draw blood. It still hurts. Look, he laid down. So since he was comfortable enough to lay down with me, I'm going to reach over and put my hand, the back of my hand against his shoulder. Oh, he's very nervous about that, but he didn't stand back up. I know you can't see on the video. Here's my hand. I'm giving little strokes. The back of my knuckles. I'm using the back of my knuckles because he's less likely to associate that with getting grabbed. But he's doing really well, so now I'm using the palm of my hand. I just flip my hand over. I haven't come anywhere near his head because when you go over a dog's head, it's very scary. But I will move my upper arm here as well. Normally I wouldn't do that because he's so scared. But I want you to see, this is where my hand is moving. So I've got it up over his spine and down his rib cage. And he's not freaking out. In fact, he's calmed down and he's relaxed a little bit. So that is great. Brought it up to his neck. See if I can get a little head pet. I would not pick my hand up off his body and pet his head. Instead, I kept my hand on his body and drew it up his neck. If I were to pick my hand up and put it on his head, it feels more like a dominance movement. while no, there's no such thing as an alpha dog, there is a little bit of a hierarchy. It's a fluid hierarchy. People change positions in it. But one of the ways they say, I want to be higher than you, is to loom up and over the top of the dog. Frequently they do this in play, to sort of figure out in play which one of us is in charge. That might change in 3 minutes. But it just gives them an idea of who likes to be in charge, who's going to give in, that sort of thing, who needs to be protected. But it's also a little intimidating. A dog like him, if a dog came up to him and said, I need to be in charge and I'm going to loom a little bit, it would be really inappropriate because he's already so scared. Dogs that are actually naturally very confident aren't going to do that to him. In fact, they're probably going to lower themselves. They'll at least drop their head to sniff and say, I just want to be friends. I'm not going to hurt you. Don't worry. You're being so good. Now, I started to say earlier, if I were walking with this harness, I would put it so the clip is in front. Since really I'm just using it for safety purposes, I'm going to put it so the clip is in back. I don't care if he pulls right now. I care that he's safe. If the clip is in front, there is a small chance that he'd get his jaw hooked on this middle piece of the leash clips. I know you can't see very well, I apologize. This is a martingale piece, and if you pull on it, it tightens, and it tightens these pieces so that it doesn't gape on your dog, and that's really, really wonderful in a no-pull harness. But if you were to lay down and this were to stick out a little bit, and he were to notice it and say, gosh, that's weird, and he were to start playing with it or chewing on it, he could get his lower jaw stuck through there, and then we've got a problem. I want safe. I'm going for safe, non-scary, non-threatening. So I'm going to put this piece on his back so he just can't reach it. Problem solved. Hi. I'm going to offer my palm again. You can't tell, but I am. Because even though he let me pet him a minute ago, that does not mean he's going to be okay with it right this second. Fearful dogs especially switch back and forth between what they're careful with, what they're okay with, and what they're not. So I'm always going to ask first. This time, though, he let me put his hand right on his back. I didn't have to start knuckles first. And he just said, okay, that's okay. I'm going to show him this before I put it on him. Check this out, buddy. Oh, is that so cool? And he's like, you're a weird human. Who cares about that? And that's kind of what I want. I'm going to drape it across his back. Oh, he's so handsome. He's not as sure about that. You can see he stopped panting. Any sudden change like that, whether they're not panting and they start, or they are panting and they stop, means they've gone, uh-oh, something's going on here. So he stopped panting, he kind of tensed, he looked around, so I just draped it across his back, and then now I'm ignoring it. Now, as I pet him, I'm using it to pet him as well, so he gets used to the idea that, yep, it's going to be all over your body. I'm sorry, I don't have the camera angled better so you can see. And he's still looking at it, but he's not panicking about it. So I'm going to take the front clip straps and clip them around his chest. Now notice, I am not reaching in front of his, well, you can't see, I'm so sorry. I'm not reaching over his head or in front of his face to clip them. I'm coming around his body this way. This runs the risk that he's going to feel a little trapped, in which case, if he suddenly starts to flinch or anything, I will let go like that. Hi, it's okay. But it keeps him from suddenly seeing my hands in front of him and attacking. They're just a little bit under him. Yeah, it's okay. It's just a clip. Now, I know he's scared of noises, so I'm going to try and make sure when this clips... Oh, we're uncomfortable again. So I almost had it clipped, and it's really tempting in that moment to just be like, oh, I can just get it done really quick. Don't do that. The second you feel like I can just get it done really quick, your body language changes to a little more tense, and your dog will freak out a whole lot more. Inevitably, that moment when you think, I can do it really quick, is the moment when everything goes south. So the second you think that, stop doing it. Retreat. There, now I'm going to see. Oh gosh, he says I don't want it across my chest. There, and I managed to clip it nice and quietly. Good boy, and you tell him he did a good job. Now I need to get it clipped under his belly, but of course he's laying down. I don't want to ask him to stand up, simply because he's comfortable. If I ask him to stand up, because he doesn't know a stand command, it would probably involve sort of sneaking my fingers under his rib cage, like from his armpit under his rib cage, so that it goosed him a little bit, and he would stand up to be like, what was that? But I don't want anything that might cause the slightest bit of alarm. So I don't want to goose him a little bit, even though it would be super gentle. I don't want him feeling like he has to move away from me. Everything I do with him he's really good at moving away, which is what you want in a dog, in any dog. Their options are fight or flight. Flight is a much better option. So while I do want him moving away from me if he's in distress, I don't want to create distress for him to move away. Tickling a dog like that typically is not going to create distress, but he's so afraid of people that even that little tiny bit might be, I won't say too much for him. He would get over it, but it would take days. I don't want a setback, so I'm not going to. What I am going to do is move a little bit. Moving a little bit will probably make him sit up to watch what I'm doing to see if he needs to run. So, again, that is a little bit of, he's sitting up because he's not comfortable, but it is not hands-on. And in fact, as I move, I'm going to move away from him to make sure that he'll sit up to see what I'm doing, but hopefully what he'll take is, oh, you're not doing anything threatening. And that's what I want. So first I'm just going to shift and see if that'll do it. No, which is a great thing. It means he's getting a lot more comfortable with me. He did stop panting and he started lip licking. Let me see if I can aim between the brush. It's not like licking their chops, which is a sign of relaxation and probably that they're looking for something yummy to eat. It's just and that tiny little lip lick is a sign of anxiety. So me moving around created that, but he wasn't stressed enough to stand up, which is actually really great. So I'm going to just move myself away from him. So this requires a lot of moving, and he still didn't stand up. So I'm actually going to get up, but because I don't want to get up and scare him, I'm going to get up and leave the X pen. I'm also going to take this chance to adjust the camera so it's in a better spot, and you guys can hopefully see a little more. So I'm going to stand up facing away from him so that at no point does he think I might be looming or attacking.